everyone, I'm finally back. It has been months. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to post a video, but it's only really been now that I feel like I'm ready to get back into the garden and I have a bit more time to make these videos and share what I've been up to with you all. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for all your lovely messages over the last few months. It has just been crazy busy. Life gets that way sometimes. And as I had mentioned a few months back, we were doing renovations, which really stepped up a gear, and it's been so time consuming. But I'm glad to say they're almost finished, probably a couple of months to go, but I'd say we've been through I don't want to say worst of it, but the most hectic part. And now I am getting back into the garden. So what you're about to see is a video that I've recorded over the last couple of weeks. There's so much going on and I am so excited to show you all. So please just sit back and relax for a few minutes. Let's get into it now. I've managed to keep this container garden going over the last few months, but I'm telling you, the rest of the garden is an absolute mess. It was all way too much for me to handle. I had to prioritize the house. But you know what? I'll get back into the garden and my mind now is focused on getting it back up to scratch. I will show you the renovations a bit later on. But first, I want to concentrate on this area, which really has been my saving grace. It's just given me that garden fix I really need and a bit of escapism away from all the mayhem inside. There are so many pretty spring flowers like these primulas and pansies. Oh, look at this, a weed. Didn't even notice that one. But you know what? True to my garden style, I do have all the flowers, the snapdragons, but I also grow the edibles because I like to mix both. And these here are some lovely spring onions which I've filled out nicely. The pot actually is looking quite dry. I need to get used to now watering these on a daily basis because the weather is warming up quite a lot, and I nearly made a big mistake last week. I hadn't watered it for a few days, hadn't come out and checked the area, and some of the plants were completely wilted. Like this pot of lettuce, I honestly thought I had lost all the plants, but I gave it a decent water and it's come back. Doesn't look as full and lush as it did a few weeks ago, but that's just the way it is, and I know more leaves will come out here from the center. But you can see here I still haven't cleaned up the dead leaves. These are the ones that got all shriveled, and it only really took a matter of days. Like, it wasn't long at all. Oh, that one's kind of stuck on. So yes, this is a great reminder for me now to come and check them on a daily basis. These are Mizuna flowers, which I've just left in the container because look at that. There's a hoverfly, and I have seen some bees on here too, but it just really draws in those beneficial bugs to help keep this area healthy. I'll go through some of these pots and show you what I've got growing in here. This one's celery and this other one is kale. I'm just laughing because I saw a little lizard pop out of there and I got a fright because it's really snake season again, and there was one at my work and it's just put me a bit on edge. Anyway, got some more pansies. This one here is a snapdragon. There's lemongrass, a couple of cornflower plants, and growing at the base are some beetroot, which are still quite small, but give them a few weeks and they'll fill out nicely. A few weeks ago this container had lovely daffodil flowers, but they've all died off now. I still have the green foliage. I'm just waiting for that to die back and put some energy back into the bulb. So I may just take out this container, and I do have a couple more that can fill in spots where others are looking like they need to be removed. Like this pot needs a home. I think that would look very nice up on the display. In there I have a purple cabbage and I have some little daisy flowers. And then there's this other container on the ground waiting to find a new home where I have some fennel, and then at the back that's kohlrabi. There's like 3 plants in there. I've got a couple of rainbow chard, and at the back these are some leeks. What were they? Oh, they were like sugar snap peas, but they haven't really done much. I might give them a bit of a liquid feed. Then I have this container full of Icelandic poppies. I've got like about 6 plants in here, and I was hoping for a bit more variety on flower colour. There only seems to be white and the yellow at the moment, but on the label it said that they can be like different shades of pink and also red too. So hopefully now some of the plants that are a bit smaller at the back will bloom in those colours. This one looks pretty bad. I've caught some snails in here quite a number of times. I've got some bok choy. Actually, is that, oh no, I thought that was a snail, but it's not. It's just the flower bud of the poppy. Do I have poppies in here too? Oh yeah, I do there. And look at that, bit of grass has made its way into this container as well. Actually, I do need to do a bit of weeding, because the weeds, when they're small, they can really blend in very easily. I can't see, oh, like there for example, grown beside these gorgeous snapdragons, some more grass. They're very sneaky, aren't they? Oh, this one I'm very excited about. I bought this back in winter as a much smaller plant. It's a sage, golden sage, and look at the colour of the foliage. Isn't that just so pretty? It almost looks surreal. It's so vibrant. It's like a bright, like lime colour green, and then a bit darker there in the centre. Got 2 containers of these polyanthus flowers. They really do add a gorgeous pop of colour. This container looks a little bit sad, and yep, weeds in here. I must give this a liquid feed too and try and get that to bulk up and look a bit more colourful. So I think I've covered most things that are growing in here at the moment. Oh, but there will be a bit of a swap, and I have purchased a few more plants. These are the plants which I purchased from my local IGA, and they are all grown by a local person in Camden, so it's supporting local business. They actually go to the Camden markets, I think it's about once a month, and oh, their seedlings are so reasonable. I must go and see when they're there again, and you know, I might buy loads of basil and other, you know, summer loving herbs and plants. Anyway, so this one is a lovely capsicum. I often grow this one. I think I grow it every year. Yes, I do, because it does so well here in this area. I picked up this zucchini, an eggplant. You know, I think maybe 4 years ago was probably the last time I had good luck growing eggplants. They really get attacked by beetles, the foliage, and it just decimates the plant, and I never get much of a harvest. So hopefully it will be my eggplant year. There's this sweet bullhorn chili and a long cayenne chili. Oh, I haven't been watering it. Okay, I need to soak this in some sea salt, I think, tonight, and get it back to a more healthy, less sad looking state. This is the current state of the very back of the garden, and there's really not much I can do with it at the moment, because the builders need to come back in here towards the end of the build and move some soil around and get it fixed up, because it's a little bit uneven. We did have to get a massive trench put in this area. It's actually really large, and that's why everything had to be dug up. You may remember we tried or attempted to save some trees, like I can't remember if I told you, but the mulberry tree which was there got transplanted over to here, and I don't think it's going to make it. It's looking really sad. There's also the lemon tree, which was one of my absolute pride and joys of the garden. We tried to transplant it, and it just looks like it hasn't taken the wood. If you do like a bark test, it's all dead. Yeah, it's quite disappointing. So I think I may just need to start over with a lemon tree and buy one from the garden centre. I haven't really got any great plans for this area or future plans at the moment. It hasn't been on my mind, so I'm just going to wait until the renovations are completely finished, and then I'll have a think about what we're going to do here. But I did want to say something which I find really interesting. There's some plants that grew in this area that, even though the soil has been heavily disturbed and turned over, they've managed to sprout back again. Look at this. These are all poppy seedlings, and like they're everywhere. And there's some other plants here too that have just self-seeded. There's lots of barge plants that have come up. There's this patch, this other area with the flowers. These are very pretty and the bees love them. And then all of these yellow flowers are from a big patch of Mizuna plants. I had actually them growing here in around roughly this spot last year. There's lots of self-seeded nasturtiums. Talked about them many times before, but every part is edible. You could eat the leaves, the flowers, and even the seed pods. Here's the raised garden bed area. I will get it looking nice again, I know I will. This is the reality of, you know, just not having the time. And even though you have the passion and desire to make it beautiful, it just doesn't always work out with life. But what I did do in here was I did manage to plant up a few beds, although I do need to weed them. Like in here I've got some fennel growing, some more rainbow chard. These are some broccoli, I believe, as far as I remember. And then over there I need to sort that patch out. That's the Jerusalem artichoke. There's heaps of them under the ground which I can harvest, save some and replant. In these two beds I have some kale, you can see there a few different varieties of kale, the dinosaur kale, the Russian red, and I think that one there is a curly kale. And then I have some of these more poppies, the Icelandic poppies, and then there's loads more leeks in here. That one there is chicory along the back. The pathways are just covered in grass. I'm actually really nervous being here because from the lounge room window I saw a giant rat run across there, and I'm so nervous. I know they must love this area, especially with being so overgrown, but oh my goodness. In this bed I've got loads of beetroot, kohlrabi, cabbage, and then that's purple sprouting broccoli. And at the very back across the two beds are some sweet pea flowers. At the front there's some more poppies, and then these are Brussels sprouts, those two plants. I've got two more beds to show you. I've got one that contains tomato plants and the other one has eggplant. Look at the mess that's surrounding them. Well, at least I got the soil topped up in here and the plants in, and they'll be fine. And I'm just gonna have to find some time to get the areas around it cleared up. All of these tomato plants, as well as those eggplants, were purchased because I'm so far behind with my seed sowing, and I thought, you know, I don't want to be waiting too long for tomatoes because they're one of my favorite things to grow in summer. So the varieties I've got in here are the Tigerella tomatoes, Blue Beauty, and two Amish paste. The tomatoes that these two plants produce, I'll be able to use them to make sauces. So Amish paste, it's a variety of plum tomato. They're very rich, very dense, and they'll make a delicious sauce that I'll be able to add into some of my family's favorite dishes. I usually grow Roma tomatoes for this purpose, to make sauces like what you're just seeing here. But there were no mature tomato plants in the garden centre, so I thought these two would be a perfect substitute, and I'm excited to see how they compare in flavour and just in general in productivity too. Just quickly wanted to show you what the renovations look like from the outside. So we have our extension built, and this area is going to be a lovely deck, and I'm quite excited about the deck because the panels around the edge are all going to be glass, so you're going to be able to see right through them into the garden. Hopefully this will be done by Christmas so we can enjoy some Christmas lunch out here if it's not too hot of a day. And we got this really large glass sliding doors installed, so just cannot wait. I'm so grateful that we're gonna have such a lovely outdoor area. And the other thing is too, this is all going to get paved along here, and then there's going to be a retaining wall. So this is going to be a new little garden area that I'm going to be able to do up. I'm not quite sure yet. Maybe I'll get something to climb up the wall and break up the brick a bit. Well, I'll have a think about it, and I'll show you a bit more of that over the coming months. Something else that's new is this large rainwater tank, which I believe holds 15,000 litres of rainwater that will come from the new roof line, and I'm very much so looking forward to using this because I know rainwater is great for plants, plus it will save us some money on our water bill too. Here I've got some trays of cut flower seedlings which I sowed a couple of weeks ago. Got a bunch of zinnias, status. There's another tray of zinnias, and over here I have some lovely Australian straw flowers. Unfortunately, I am behind when it comes to the cut flowers. So I've run my business now. This is the third season of selling the cut flowers I grow in my garden, and I am good month or so behind when it comes to starting seeds. I did actually consider looking into purchasing some seedlings from a company here in Australia, but you have to buy them in bulk, quantities that are way too much for me. Like, for example, say if I was to pick status, it may be maybe 300 seedlings, and like that's just too much. I'm a bit lower scale, plus the fact that it would eat into my profits. So yes, I'll have to start from seed. It may just mean that I'll have to sell them, or I will be selling them a little bit later in the season. So last year I started selling my flowers in December. That's when I began to supply them to the local garden centre in Tarmore. I'm hoping that's when I'll get started again. We'll see how we go. I don't want to be too much later than that because I want to get at least the full summer season, which is approximately 12 weeks of selling flowers. I've also got a bunch more of those warm climate cut flower seeds to sow, like sunflowers and amaranthus, as well as a pile of dahlia tubers that need to find a home somewhere here in my patch. So usually with the dahlia tubers, I can leave them in the ground over winter because it's very mild here and we don't get much rain during the cooler months, as well as frost. And if we do get frost, it's very light. So this wouldn't usually be an extra job I would have, but it is this year because I had to dig those tubers up from the area that got turned over for that storm water trench. Anyway, there is a list and I'll get through it. And let's cross my fingers that this time next week, when I'm giving you a garden update, I'll have plenty more things to show you. But until then, I hope you have a wonderful 7 days ahead and happy gardening.